What up, 24/7 mindset? Hey, I appreciate everybody making time today. I'm really excited about today's call with Ryan for a couple of reasons. He reminds me of a much, much, much younger me. First of all, I love his hustle, love his grind, and maybe one of these days I'll get a chance to play golf with him. But welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. I would love to play. You'll make me look bad, but hey,
I remember I think it was like last week sometime or something like that. You made one of your stories, and it was a golf sunset picture. So how often do you get a chance to play?
not as much as I would like to. Probably like once a month on average these days.
Yeah, I'm kind of sporadic. So I've got my golfing buddy went off to college. He's a sophomore at Arkansas, and he used to play like 3 4 times a week. But now it's maybe once every couple weeks, if
Yeah.
that. But I'll practice from time to time at the house. You get a lot of practice in?
No, I've been. It's one of those things. It's kind of like last on the priority list. It's
Yeah.
something I like to do for fun. It's definitely one of my top hobbies, but I don't really get out enough. There's a golf and country club, the one I took a picture of. It's actually 2 minutes up the road, so I've been looking into membership there because it'd be good for networking and
Oh,
right up the road too. And plus, it has a gym, everything else, so it'd save me the place I'm going, and that would help. Then I could maybe make it like a weekly thing where I invite somebody or do it on my own.
yeah. There's a country club that we joined back in like I don't know 2005, maybe 2006. So we've been there for like 20 plus years, and I think it was like 25 grand to join back then. So it was a pretty high level club, and I bet you I made 100 times over what I paid in dues and also upfront cash. Made that back in commissions from the refi boom of 2008, 2009. Then everything was. I mean, imagine like being the mortgage guy in like one country club. It's
Yeah.
you just what I love about what you just said is 2 minutes away.
Hmm.
So every time you have lunch, you don't need to go to a restaurant. You need to go to the club, have guests come with you to the club, and then you'll get a chance to meet the members from there. I'd play in every like MGA tournament. I'd play in every event. For me, what I would always do, even though I had buddies, I would always walk on Saturday morning and Sunday morning, or Saturday afternoon to Sunday afternoon, just get paired with a random twosome or a threesome. And I can't tell you how many deals I got from being paired with a random twosome and a threesome on Saturday and Sunday. It got funny because I'd start calling the pro shop and like I wouldn't target's not really the best word, but I would like figure out who the biggest influencers were at the club, and I would to get from the pro shop to find out when their next tea time was, and if they had a slot open on their in their group, they only had 2 players or 3 players,
Hmm.
and I would get myself added to their tea time. And I would be an open door to get relationships with the biggest influencers at the club.
Smart. Sorry.
It's financially very, very rewarding, so I highly recommend it.
Thanks. Yeah, I was looking at the numbers and I had a great year last year, and I was like, I could do it, but maybe we'll see how this quarter goes. Make sure we're still pacing right.
Yeah.
But then I started doing the math as far as opportunity, reward from all that, and I agree 100% with you. It would definitely you put the time and energy in, and make sure you're there a lot, and you're bound to definitely make good connections there.
Yeah, I use it as a tool, not a toy,
Yeah.
right? I promise you, I had plenty of fun there and I have plenty of tournaments that I won and plenty of like great events and stuff. But I used it as a tool to be able to grow my mortgage business, which profitably it was a very big blessing. So if you go there and you use it as a toy, yeah, it's going to be a silly investment to do. If you could use it as a tool, it will help you monetize 10x fold over time.
Yeah, I agree. Not to mention all the agents that love the golf course and want to get out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Where what part of the world are you in, by the way?
Northern California, so Sonoma County. It's right next to Napa County.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, we have maybe what 200,000 people in the city now. Where my office is in Santa Rosa is the city that I'm at.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
this little Dallas boy is already jealous of you. So I love that part of the world for sure.
The weather's a lot nicer, but we can't get nearly the house that you guys can get for that price.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. But then also, yeah, it's cool to visit. We've been to Napa Valley multiple times. French Laundry is one of my favorite places to go. Go out there. It's been a little bit since we've been. I think it's been a couple of years, but it's a blast. How often do you go to any of the vineyards or wineries there?
To be honest with you, when I was younger, I know I probably maybe still look on the inside though.
You're like 12.
Yeah, exactly. Fake ID. No, I mean, when I was like 21, it's probably about like 10, 11 years ago, my buddies were big in the wine industry, and I have a couple of friends who still do, like, they do kind of more of the natural wines, make their own stuff, a little boutique stuff now. But when they were in the business and working at the wineries, I would go and check out, take a date, take a friend. But we're just surrounded by it all the time. I mean, my buddies, a couple of my friends still work, so they give me bottles or like here, gifts and stuff. So I'm always surrounded by it. So I'm never like, on a weekend off, oh, I'm going to check out this winery. And it gets to be a lot too, because there's like probably 1,000 wineries in like a 20-mile radius from where I'm at.
Yeah. So, there's a winery in Napa that we went to, and it drove my wife crazy, but it's one of my favorite wineries. It was called Rouen, and the head sommelier at Rouen is also the head sommelier at Augusta National.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the conversation's over. I sat there and talked to the dude for like 3 hours. We missed our like 2 other vineyards we're supposed to go to that day. Yeah. Because my wife was like, dude, we got to go. And the drive, we had a driver drive us around. The driver's like, oh, I'm like, I am not leaving the chair. Like, tell me everything. Like, there's so many stories about like the champions dinner and the wine pairing and who is a jerk at Augusta, who is awesome at Augusta, and like stories. And I'm like, have you ever got to play the course? And he's like, oh yeah, all the time. I'm like, really? All right. I'm not like, you're about to be my best friend.
Yeah. Didn't say we were to your wife.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So, well, cool. All right, tell me, who is Ryan in the mortgage space?
It's a good question. Who am I in the mortgage space? I mean, I just pride myself on being a mortgage advisor at the end of the day and trying to help people make good decisions and just support my referral partners as best I can and make sure they have a good experience.
Awesome. So what are some tools that you use or strategies that you use to be able to accomplish that?
Tools. Some of the main thing is my CRM. So I use Jungo to track everything. Lead tracker too. I dabbled maybe in core coaching in the beginning of my career, took some of the stuff that I liked about it, and then just implemented it. So lead tracking referral sources, that kind of stuff. I think that's a pivotal point in anybody's business to see where their referrals are coming from, what percentage of the pie that each individual referral source comes from, and just staying on top of it.
Have you ever met a golfer? Like, if you talk to a golfer and you say, hey, what'd you shoot? And like, oh, I don't know, I didn't keep score. Have you ever met a golfer that's really good that did not keep score? Because I've never met a loan officer that's really good that does not keep score.
I agree. Back when I first started playing golf, I didn't keep score. I didn't want to know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where a lot of loan officers are. They don't track like you track. Because they don't want to know their conversion rate from lead to app, from contract to close, from referral meeting to partner. And I think that's a big difference, that the top 1%ers of mortgage as a loan officer track, improve. And there's like no ego. It's just facts, where unfortunately we're in an industry that everybody wants to look good and act right. And at the end of the day, like, if you can improve your conversion rate from lead to app by just simply 5%, you've literally doubled the amount of production that you do over time. Yeah. So it's awesome that you track.
Yeah. Other than lead tracker, then I would say mortgage coach, a big fan of that. So just in simplicity terms of how I present the information to client and always giving options. I never want to say, hey, I still am blown away by some of the competitors that I see just put in an email or different things like this. So the presentation aspect of it, I think, is important as well too. And just being being there when people need you. Like they say, speed to need is one of those quotes that I've heard in the mortgage community. And I like that. So just being able to be there for somebody and make it about them as quickly as possible in the discovery meeting. And then the strategy meetings, when my second follow-up meeting after I have apps and docs, is putting together a detailed presentation based on what we talked about in their discovery meeting and what their goals are, and finding alignment in that.
So Mortgage Coach, I've used it for, good Lord, 15 plus years, 18 plus years. It was an absolute game changer earlier in my career. It used to come in like at a floppy disk that you had to download. And what I love so much about it is a course that I wrote in the 24/7 Mindset community that talked about the difference between a loan officer that's an amateur using Mortgage Coach and a loan officer that's a professional using Mortgage Coach. Or I'll be more specific, a loan officer that's an addition loan officer and a loan officer that's a multiplier loan officer. And what you see out there is a loan officer that's an addition loan officer. I call those that they go to a realtor, they get a referral, they get a deal, and they go back groveling to the realtor to get another deal. A multiplier, which I teach in the community, and I'm sure you've heard of, is you go to a realtor, you get the same referral. You take that same client, you refer it out 4 different ways: a CPA, a financial advisor, a family will attorney, and an insurance agent. And on average, you get minimum of 2 referrals back. You just turn 1 commission into 3 commissions.
Mm-hmm.
And what I use Mortgage Coach as a professional, not an amateur, as a multiplier, not an addition loan officer, is I focus on taking that Mortgage Coach, getting with the client, showing their options just like every other loan officer does. But then I ask them, I say, hey, I've got a super high IQ mortgage knowledge wise. You've got a very high IQ, what you want. But talk to me about who's helping grow your wealth, who's your financial advisors helping you generate wealth for you and your family. I want to be able to get these options over to your financial advisor. So for the sake of being able to actually make sure that the mortgage I'm structuring for you meets and mirrors and matches your long-term and short-term goals from your financial advisor. I want to do the same thing with your CPA, your tax strategist, to make sure that I'm structuring the mortgage with the highest tax advantages for you. Can you give me a referral to your CPA? So take your TCA that you use, your Mortgage Coach that you use, take that as a tool, and then use that to get in a relationship with each client, CPA, financial advisor, insurance agent, and then also family will attorney, which that helps you multiply and multiply and multiply your referral streams.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I mean that's next level stuff for sure. Each meeting that you have with a client can be all of those touch points.
I mean, it is next level stuff, but I think once you hear it, Ryan, you can't unhear it. Once you learn it, you can't unlearn it. And at the end of the day, like, you're hungry, you're driven, you're young, you're establishing your business, you're establishing your family. What the biggest takeaway I want you to take from this is you can shorten your learning curve, where most people say, hey, I'm in the business 15 years. Have you really been in the business 15 years, or have you been in business 1 year 15 times? Right? So whatever number of years in the business that you're in, use tools like this, use strategies like the multiplier strategy to be able to help you be in the compound year after year after year.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. All right. What else do you do that you feel like helps you stand out?
Technology wise, or anything in general?
Anything. I'm a big fan of yours, and I want every listener to also be a big fan of yours. So
I would say the main thing is, so we talked about client, speed to need, Mortgage Coach, tracking the lead tracker. Also, I would say just being a partner, like involved in every offer that goes out for clients, and making sure that they got this concierge service of, what do they need to see multiple payments? What do we need to do to make the offer? Like, I don't know how, I feel like there's so many missed opportunities when a buyer is actually trying to submit an offer, if the loan officer and the agent aren't in communication with each other throughout the process, and just like tightening up terms. So like when I started my business, it was right before COVID. So I was focusing all on purchase business. There was no refi, I didn't have the database. So I got used to, especially in this market and like how desirable it is, just crazy amounts of offers, no contingencies. How do we compete with cash? This kind of stuff. So I built my business in the purchase space and being ultra competitive and making sure that I have players on my team that can operate as quickly as I do. And that's the best thing for the client ultimately, is to give them that competitive edge. So when I'm packaging the file, or someone on my team's packaging the file up, making sure that that's dialed. So when it goes to the next step, it's quick. And that allows us in turn to give people competitive edge when they're actually submitting offers. And agents, of course, love it when you can do fully underwritten approval. Not only that, but I'm running the property address, seeing if we can get appraisal waivers. Can we get rid of the appraisal? Can we give the client that option? How quick can we close? We're closing on average probably 15 to 21 days. A lot more recently. I don't know what happened in the last 2 weeks. Seems like we're going back to 15 days, no loan contingencies in my market to get stuff accepted. So whatever, I think the main thing is seeing what people need and filling that need to the best of my ability, and then seeing how we can improve the level of service. So if there's any point in friction with clients, any question that keeps coming up, let's put that in our email template. If there's something that an agent is feeling out in the market, let's talk about it. Even then too, when I'm talking, I'm calling the listing agent. So not only am I trying to get fully underwritten approval for every client so they don't need loan, I run the address through the DU LP, see if we get the waiver so we can get rid of that, making sure we move fast as a team to give them that. And then the last piece of it is calling the listing agent. So every time an offer is submitted, we're calling the listing agent, and we're not just saying, hey, we're the best, look at us, look at our great reputation, we're going to close this fast. But we're also seeing if we can pull more information than the actual buyer's agent from this listing agent to see if we can pivot our offer that will make the difference to help our client get that offer accepted. Because at the end of the day, you can talk all these numbers and everything. It doesn't matter unless they can actually get their offer accepted for that purchase market. So I think that's a big piece of it. And then on the refi side of it, now that's coming back to fruition, it's just taking care of those clients and being proactive in your communication. So you're not dealing with, the big box office calling your client and BSing them and sending them, garbage LEs and then having to dissect that and playing defense, but mostly playing offense and staying in touch, which, you preach in your stuff that you do, is really maintaining that database. So you're that advisor, so they don't have to deal with all that. And the experience on the front end of purchase and the follow-up refinance is a good experience that they want to keep being part of into the future.
You want a strategy that I've used for, 15, 18 years that I bet if you implement it in 2026, will make another $100,000 plus a year?
Of course.
All right, here's next. When's your next contract, or how many contracts have you got? Do you have a contract that came in this week?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to the contract, figure out who the seller's name is, first name and last name, look them up on social, get familiar with them on social, grab their home address, right? You already have the contract address, so you have their home address. Send them a handwritten note, short and concise. Hi, I'm Wally. I'm the mortgage loan officer that's helping close a loan for your buyer on your house. I'm already earning a great income from that loan. Would you like me to quote your mortgage for you and give you a huge discount towards your closing costs? I'll probably pick up 25, 30 fundings a year, literally by sending a handwritten note to each seller on the contracts that I get it.
Wow. You're still you're still doing that?
Yeah, my team now does it, but
yeah.
Dude, I remember, I think I was like 29 years old, and I just had my second kid, and now they're in college. But I was like, we needed money. Like, I don't think we're behind on anything, but we're like paycheck to paycheck. And I remember seeing this, and I think I had like 4 contracts that came in. I lost all 4, and long story short, I'm like, dude, I've got to generate money. I've got to generate commission. I got a wife and 2 young kids. Like, I've got to get this going. And I looked at the contract and I just stared at the contract. I remember it to this day. It was, the seller's name was Michael Anderson. And I remember grabbing a handwritten note, sending it to the seller. And back then I used to call it Wally Bucks. It was like $500 towards closing costs. Now it's like Now it's like 2,500, or if it's a smaller price house below 500,000, I'll send them $2,500 coupon, which is like looks like money, and it's Wally bucks for 2,500. If it's a $500,000 or more sales price for a house, I'll send them a $5,000 coupon for money on that. All I'm doing is LPCing it out of the margin.
Yeah.
Then it positions me like, dude, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm already making money. I'm closing the deal on this deal. So why don't I do your mortgage also and give you a smoking deal? Like, who's the percentage of people that will surprise you that you'll actually get like an answer from? It's been almost 2 decades, and like I've said this until I'm blue in the face, and no one still does it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's what I love about your creativity in the mortgage space, of just how to connect more opportunities, how to connect to them. And I mean, you do a great job at it. It surprises me. Something like this too. It's a simple thing. It doesn't take that long, but it stands out. I mean, even when I'm like dealing with clients who, oh, we're already pre-approved, or oh, we're already got a quote on a refi. And I'm like, that's fine, but I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't let you know I just saved the last client with the same rate, same program, 9,000 in closing costs. Are you open to a second opinion? That line closes the opportunity. That almost like I would say 90% of the time, just putting a dollar value to what you're talking about, it makes people have an opening to the conversation, similar to the Wally bucks. Like, oh, okay, this $5,000 off my closing cost. Why wouldn't I talk to this guy and give him a chance?
Yeah, but dude, I mean, I think the biggest challenge, we're in an industry, there's like a massive number of copycats. And I think the ones of us that, and I see this in you, the ones of us that use creativity, it's no different than you talk to Tiger Woods and his golf. And he talks about it's 2 major things that helped him win more than anybody else, which was his course management and his creativity around the hole, around the green. And I think when you get in mortgage, and if you look to do mortgage just like everybody else does in the industry, you're going to get swallowed up and you're just going to be an average Joe. When you look at mortgage, and I've read a book a week since 2012. I probably read 20, 30 books about how to be the best plumbing business out there, 20, 30 books on how to be the best orthodontist business out there. All these other like big type industries that have massive amount of success, think outside the box. And when you look at that and you learn that about a plumber that does ABC tactic, you bring that to the mortgage world and it works. I mean, you skyrocket the amount of production you can do.
Wow. So you did that. You did 20, 30 books on different industries?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's a book called E-Myth. It's one of my favorite books in the whole entire world. It's like an entrepreneurial business ownership book. And it's a series of almost like 30 books. And the 30 books are like E-Myth for CPAs, E-Myth for financial advisors, E-Myth for family will attorneys, E-Myth for realtors, E-Myth for mortgage. And all it is a combination of the best practices of how to build a business that is scalable, sellable, and the best ever. And you go out there, there's like 15, 20 different series of books like that out there.
Yeah.
And when I started focusing on financial advisors in 2019, 2020, I had life insurance, but I didn't know much about it. So what did I do? I went to Amazon and bought like 15, 20 books. I think it was like 15 books breaking down how to build the biggest financial advisor practice, how to actually build a financial advisor team. What's the difference in the long-term sellability of a financial advisor firm that is focused on either majority life insurance or more asset-based? What do they look for in partners? And like, how do you manage their books? How do you manage their accounting? What I got out of that is understanding super clearly the avatar of who I'm going after.
Mm-hmm.
I think the unfortunate thing with loan officers is we're in this like little pigeonhole that is realtors, 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 and we think we know realtors. And I thought I knew realtors. It was like 2016 was the first year I broke $100 million in a year. I was only 37. And at 2016, I looked at it. I'm like, dude, like I'm making a ton of money and a ton of closings off. I'm a likable guy. I make people laugh. They like me, so they send me business. But like I didn't have much depth in me. So what did I do? I went out there and I researched who was the number one biggest real estate agent coach nationwide. His name was Pat Mancuso, and he was with Maps Coaching. So I hired Pat Mancuso for 14 months of how to teach me to be the best mega agent realtor nationwide, how to do the best open houses, how to negotiate the best contracts, read the best inspections, build the best showing assistant. What are the best technologies out there? And what did I do with that knowledge? I went out there and I elevated my game from working with solo agents to elevating my realtor game, working with mega agents, realtors that do 30, 40, $50 million in business or more, because I was able to coach them from the tactics that I learned of how to be the best real estate agent possible. Like, tell me another loan officer that does that. But the number one thing is, like, there's so many other industries, Ryan, that we can all learn from, that we can bring back tactics and go implement. But it's just so many loan officers, unfortunately, I wouldn't say the word lazy, but they're just kind of content with doing businesses like everybody else does.
Yeah, I agree. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, how do you balance your book of business and focusing on, like, you can't be everywhere, right? You can't focus on realtors and CPAs and financial advisors all at once, or master all of them at once, or can you? Like, how did you divide your energy?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is like I was born out of the womb with the 6-lane highway. It's not. I mean, I was a loan officer until 2019. 2019 I did over 100 million, but 97% of that 100 million, 97% of that 100 million was all realtor-based business. It was only 3% came from my past clients. But the following year was 150 million in production, but then 34% of our business came from past clients. Following year was 200 million, and over 40% of our business came from our past clients. Why? Because every year I look at my business and I look at the weakest part of my business, weakest part of my mortgage game, and I focus for the next 12 months of what research, what books, what coaches, what mentors, who can I hire to teach me how to take the weakest part of my mortgage game and make it into the strongest part of my mortgage game over the next 12 months. It's no difference if you're a golfer. If the short game's trash, spend the next 12 months working on your short game and you'll score better. If your long game is trash and you can't hit out of your shadow, focus on that and for the next 12 months, and before you know it, you're a scratch golfer. But loan officers just continuously bang their head against the wall, bang their head against the wall, bang their head against the wall, trying to do the same thing and expecting a different result, which that's the true meaning of insanity. So my advice to you is master one lane. Okay. At your level of your business and your level of career, master the real estate agent lane. Once you've mastered the real estate agent lane, then focus on building out your second lane, whatever that second lane is. My advice, your second lane should be your personal database. How do you turn your database into a data bank that allows you to be able to take withdrawals out of it? Okay. Mm-hmm. Number 3, the easiest low hanging fruit is a combination. You get to pick if it's going to be financial advisors or if it's going to be insurance agents. Both those are super easy to be able to do. Some loan officers would prefer insurance because insurance agents are really connected to realtors, and then a lot of my insurance agents couldn't match the amount of horsepower or referrals that I send out to them, but they financially rewarded me by introducing me with ABC Realtor. Financially rewarded me with ABC Realtor. And what I did was I didn't want them to send me any, silly willy type of referrals. A realtor doesn't do business. I would sit down with my insurance agent or sit down with even in my title company reps, and I break down and say, hey, this quarter, here's the 25 real estate professionals in our area that I want to get in relationship with. Here's the 25. Who on this list of 25 do you already have a relationship with or know that you can introduce me to? Number 1. Who on this list do you want to go after that we can go after together and build a partnership together to go after together and be able to bring them in our fold? So I think that in my book, I talk about there's 3 levels of leverage: human leverage, systems leverage, and then technology leverage. All this is a system that I've employed humans around me to help me grow my business, and I help keep them accountable through technology.
Yeah. I like that. No, just focusing on one thing for 12 months is huge. I think especially for most people in this day and age, and no matter what aspect of your life. I like how you brought it into golf because it works in personal and it works in our business as well.
For sure, dude.
And that's the biggest thing for me is, I used to be in the last several years, always like, oh, this new technology, or, oh, this new tactic, or this. And then it's like, oh, I'm going to go, and I'm like, jack of all, master of none, or whatever they say.
Yeah.
And that's a huge piece of it.
I think I was talking to a buddy of mine 2 nights ago, and he goes, "Man, you've lost a lot of weight. You're super in shape. You this, and this." And he goes, "Man, I wish I could be like you." I said, "Let's drop down. Can you do 20 push-ups?" He goes, "Yeah, I can do 20 push-ups." I was like, "All right, let's do them together." We hit the floor. We did 20 push-ups. I said, "All right, can you do 20 push-ups every day for 12 months?" Just 20. I didn't say 200. I didn't say 2,000. Can you just do 20 push-ups every day for 12 months? He goes, "Yeah." Okay, cool. Do 20 push-ups every day for 12 months, and you'll see your body transform. I work out maybe 15, 20 minutes a day, maybe, but I do it day after day after day after day. I cold plunge every day. I do infrared hot sauna every day. And I don't care if it's 2 degrees outside or 200 degrees outside. Like, I'm still doing it. It's comical how underrated the compound effect is in someone's success. The power of consistency is like the eighth wonder of the world.
Your mic's fading out just a little bit, just so you know.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that works.
All right,
I got
cool.
But yeah, the compound effect and consistency. Yeah, I agree. We overcomplicate everything.
Oh, for sure. And I think, you look at top mortgage producers, and they're like, "Oh, he must be really good, or he must be really great scripting, and he's so much better, or she's so much better than me." I was sending an email back to someone this morning. I said, the difference between me and everyone else? I've had more failures by noon because I've tried and failed more times than anybody else tried. And it's like, when you realize failure is part of success, failure is not an if or that. It's, you've got to fail to figure out what works well and what doesn't work well, and just double down on what works well after you figured out what doesn't work well.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, question for you is, when was the first time you heard about the 24/7 Mindset community or book or academy? Talk to me about your exposure to the brand.
That's a great question. I don't know if I can pinpoint if it was you or the program first. It was probably you first. And then, yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, I can kind of remember when you first launched the book and everything else. I bought it, and then you gave me a signed copy. So yeah, I think I was introduced to you first through just something in the mortgage coach community, probably, because since the beginning of my career, I just dove into that, watching top producers talk about, their stuff on the Mortgage Coach channel and MBS and stuff like that, just listening to what tactics are actually working in the field right now from top producers. So I'm pretty sure it was probably something along those lines, or an event or something. I never went to any of the Todd Duncan events. But I think it was just being part of the community. And then I started following your page and saw when you released it.
Yeah.
I mean, the book, to give you a lot of credit, maybe I don't know who the watchers are on this or not, if they're already like invested and got the book. But I mean, there's no way you couldn't succeed if you just follow through with the book. I mean, it's a masterclass in building your mortgage business and any business in general. Like you said, it's applicable to, if you follow these steps and you do these things and realize where you're at in your business, it's just a lot, and sometimes for me, I like get overwhelmed by all of that personally, being in where my career is. And I'm like, wow, am I really ready to master my craft to this level? Because there's no excuse at this point. You kind of got to look in the mirror. It's like, how bad do you actually really want it? It goes deeper to like what your whys are and what kind of lifestyle you want. At the end of the day, it's a lot of upfront work and being calculated in your decisions. But then once you can actually live what you're pitching and what you're showing everybody is possible with the 24/7, it can be a beautiful life and super rewarding. And I've seen that in different facets of my life as well too.
How so?
Just putting in the work, putting in the time, the energy, the work. I remember I was stressed out every week for the first 2 years of my business, just laser focused, blinders on. And I didn't know, I want to quit every other week and like, this and that, just all this like psychological stuff that you go through when you want, maybe some people don't, but I feel like a lot of people in the industry do, when you want things to be perfect for the client, but there's so much in the loan business that's out of control, whether it's through underwriting or different things like this with people in general, you deal with that. And so from going from that point to actually going back to creating my own schedule, spending time, like I was telling you before we got on, like I have a 2-year-old daughter, being able to spend time with her and make it out a priority in my life, and have, this last year, as far as hours during the week that I worked, it's probably the least amount that I've ever worked in my career this last year, but I made the most amount of money and did the most amount of production.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Hell yeah. That's now, did you know that could have been possible for you before you dove in and became a master at your craft?
Never.
And I think that's the number one thing I hate about this industry. Absolutely pure hatred about this industry, that you have to sacrifice your health. You have to sacrifice your family time. You have to sacrifice your mental space just to be successful. I despise that with every bone in my body.
Yeah.
And I love someone that is like in their early 30s, starting a family, that you can actually have your best year ever and be a present father. Because so many years I made that mistake. It was either being a great professional or a present father. The word "and" in that is the most important. And
Yeah, I agree. It's sad, but I'm happy to be where I'm at. And I never even think about quitting anymore. There's no question that this is the path that I'm meant to be on, and it's the most rewarding thing. The more you pour into it, the more it pours into you.
Yeah. What are some successes you've had either with a 6-lane highway or some post closing? I think we're messaging back and forth on Facebook about it.
Yeah, I think the easiest, it's funny because we all deal with realtors. Like there's a lot that I love working with, and there's a lot that are just like, I don't know, we might have to have a talk and reposition our relationship. It's like, all right, well, I'm closing deals, but how much stress, and you have to weigh out, kind of balance that. Is it worth it? Or do I find a different partner that is more fulfilling on multiple levels instead of just income? So I think financial advisors, it's silly. Like, I don't know if loan officers are ever going to catch on in a big way, but like, it's the easiest, like as far as being able, if you do the basics of what we talked about and you can have a mortgage coach, you can walk into any office and it's another easy referral. Most of my business, probably 90-80%, is first-time home buyers. First-time home buyers, you were talking about financial advisors, they don't have one. But if you put the idea in their head, and some even actually come to me automatically without even me having like, the 5th page of the 1003 where you can start to dial in that more concretely, which is part of my goal this year. But long story short, with financial advisors, it's an easy referral for you, especially with refinances, showing them the reinvestment tool and being able to pitch that with them, whether you have a client for them or not, to be open to communicating with you. But the gold is really in the quality of lead that they send you. Somebody who's under management of a financial advisor is a good quality lead. Most of the time, they're going to close. Like the closing rate of, I get a lead from a financial advisor, which I just started implementing this last year in my practice. And I'm lucky because I live in, or my office is in a pretty high end part of town where there's a lot of financial businesses. There's probably like 5 in my building. So 2 of them just next door to me right now. Like behind this wall is one of them that I started working with, just passing in the hallway or whatnot. Both of the leads, all pre-approved, all qualified, two closed. The one across the way, I've done 3 refis for in the last, or a purchase and 2 refis for, all within the last 12 months. And that's not even me like making a big push to like go out and actually prospect new financial advisors. So I think that's a huge part of the 6-lane highway that I think is ridiculous if nobody's tapping into it.
It's crazy, but what's super funny about it, and I find this really comical, it's not rocket science. I mean, we already get the loan application. We already get the tax returns. We already get the financial statements. They're at our fingertips. Like it is, I've never been able to, well, I have back before 2008, but it's not like you can ever close a loan without income. It's not like you can ever close a loan without employment or like tax returns or W-2s or paycheck stubs. Like those are kind of like mandatory things in a loan. And if they're at our fingertips and you pull up the dang tax returns and it shows the CPAs, Patty Sue, pick up the damn phone and call Patty Sue and be like, hey, we've got a mutual client. It's John Smith. I'm closing his mortgage. I want to walk you through how I structured his mortgage to make sure that it meets your tax advantage goals for him. How many calls do you think that CPA gets like that a day or a week, a month, a year?
Zero.
Like, zero. Talk about being different. Talk about being the differentiator. You get the investment account statement, you're going through and like, oh, dude, you got $500,000 with ABC Financial Advisor. Do I have your permission to call your financial advisor, walk them through what options we picked, your interest rate, your payment, your closing costs, your cash to close, and then I'll make sure that they are endorsing the options that we picked for the mortgage. And if they've got any other coaching tips, I want to come back and tell you, because I don't want to put you in a mortgage that your financial advisor is going to be disconnected with and disagree with.
Yeah.
Like, how difficult is that conversation? It's not rocket science. It's just awareness and being brave enough to execute. That's literally all this is. Can you increase your financial IQ and understand there's a much easier, better, smarter way to do business? And are you brave enough to slow down and ask the questions so you can speed up your production?
Yeah. And I think it goes back to what you're talking about failing before noon. For my own, I'm just thinking about like being a new loan officer and some of the stuff, roadblocks that I deal with even up to this day is mentally, like, do I feel like I need to be like this perfect, oh, I understand financial advisors, I've read the 30 books or whatever, like you have, and I understand their thought process. And now I can go and have these conversations, when reality is, even with realtors in the beginning, like having meetings with them I was insecure. I had my questions, but maybe I'd forget one, I'd fumble around. And that's part of the process that I think a lot of people, prevents them from being successful in anything, is, and for me too, is like, I want to be perfect, but perfect doesn't pay the bills. And ultimately that experience that you have, you'll learn to get comfortable with it. And then you'll learn that you actually do know how to communicate with these people, and you can make the impact that you want and build the relationships that are pivotal for your business.
All right. We're going to take a break from that and we're going to come right back to it. But you just gave me a brilliant idea. I want to make sure publicly I give you credit for it. I made a Facebook Live this morning. I want to like share a lot more of like my failures out in the marketplace. I think so many people talk about their successes and how perfect they are. And I was thinking about putting a series together, and I wrote this down. I wrote down "Failing by Noon." That's the name. That's going to be the name of the series. Then I remembered one of my really close friends, mentors, Todd Booksman. His product is called "Win by Noon." So I'm going to text him after this. I'm going to ask him. Total squirrel moment. I'm like, hey, do you care if I launch something called "Fail by Noon"? And the more we fail by noon, the more we're going to succeed everything after the 12 o'clock window. So kudos to you for saying that. That made me think of that.
Well, you started it though. So let's take all the credit.
All right, I digress. Back to actually not being goofy. Okay, so let's talk about the mindset shift you had to have, right? When this goofy Wally guy is talking about calling financial advisors and you got armed, like, were you nervous? How'd you convince yourself to at least try? Like, how'd you get over that like mental block of like the hump?
I think it's just owning. It's owning that inexperience. It's owning everything that goes into anything that you try new that might be frightening for you. Just like when I got in the business, like I didn't know what I was doing. I probably should have been a junior processor. I just said nope. And just like, I'm going to figure it out. And I don't advise that for a lot of people, but at the end of the day, if you can overcome the fear and anxiety and everything else that's normal with the human experience going into somebody's place of business or calling somebody else who's not expecting you, it can be super rewarding. So I think once you have that, and we all do, like if we're doing loans right now, we all have had those moments. And it's important to remember those moments and draw from those moments and realize that that is only temporary, that you're going to experience that. And that's the mindset shift is, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. I want to be the best of my craft. Like that's what I want to do. So in order to do that, it's important to be uncomfortable and force myself into uncomfortable situations, because that's where the growth happens in any aspect.
So you clearly have a lot of mental strength. How do you gain that level of understanding you have to fail to be able to succeed in that delayed gratification? Because we're in an industry of instant gratification. Everybody wants to get their mortgage license and be a millionaire the next day. Like, how do you get that self discipline?
Your mic's fading out a little bit too again, just so you
Hang
know.
it.
But I think we heard it. It's
All
just
right.
a little quiet. You know, I think it's hard to say like pivotal, like am I going to take it back to childhood? You know, was it something my dad said? But I've been through difficult things in my life that have kind of calloused me for different for that play into this. But I think it's just it's more of like you have to decide, are you in control of your life? Because if you're in, victim mode or whatever, then there's no hope. But you have to decide, are you in control of your life? And if you are, then what do you need to do to make it to the next step and to the next phase? And full fundamental belief. And that's something that, like, early on, I would say probably around 18 and going through tragedy and having to make that decision for myself, like, am I going to allow this tragic thing that happened in my life to define me and be a victim and use it? Or am I going to use it as fuel for my fire to actually prepare myself into something good? And once I made that decision, there's a lot of stuff that, law of attraction or mindset, and you could go into all the quantum physics and all that kind of stuff with it. But to keep it short, I mean, that's ultimately a decision that I made in my life. And then from that point on, it was learning and, listening to David Goggins, different things like this, that all kind of just solidified everything I was already building and just rolling with that. And then seeing the fruits of the labor. It's like, yeah, that was super. Like, in the beginning of my career, like I said, I didn't know anything. I had like the Jeremy Forcier, I'd listen to Mortgage Coach or like this or that. And I'd be like, oh, this is what they're doing. They're just going in and talking to realtors and then saying this and doing that. And I was like, all right. But I was scared shitless. And I was just like listening to audiobooks, like motivational stuff, like in the car, like just force feeding myself the energy that I needed, because I didn't have anybody in my life that was like, you could do, maybe my mom, but not like that. But like you can, like you could do it. You got this. Like in those moments, you're by yourself. You're in the car. You just dealt with rejection. Like those are real raw moments. So I was just hyping myself up with whatever I could, and a lot of that was like a Spotify playlist or audiobooks. And just if you like have enough of that in your brain, like turn off TV, you're not listening to like garbage music, and you're just listening to that, eventually it affects your subconscious to where you can rely on that, because it's almost your inner voice now. And it's a big piece of it. So I would say that is it ultimately. And then you build off of that, and you just learn how to deal with rejection. You learn how to deal with no's. And that's what every successful person does is they get good at looking at rejection or one no closer to a yes. Like, thank you for that. I needed that, now I can move on closer to my yes. It's a reframing of mind, because we're not built like this. We all have our fears and everything else in our mind, but you have to learn how to reframe it. And still to this day, it's something I still have to do. If I really want to be at the top of my level, I'm probably going to go back to exactly that. Spotify playlist, audiobooks, no music. That's it.
I'm a big fan of going to YouTube and typing in motivational speeches, and like you got the David Goggins, the Alex Hermosi's, all these different, and it's like an hour long. And literally, when I cold plunge, that's going on in the background. When I'm working out in the morning after my cold plunge, but then when I'm doing my hot sauna afterwards. So I do all three of those in the morning, and that takes up an hour. Well, what am I doing during that hour? Like, I am mentally getting myself ready for the day. I've already won physically, I've already won mentally, I've already won emotionally, and also won spiritually. So once I get in the office at 7:30, like the world can end, and I've already feel like I've won for the day.
Yeah.
Is Forcier close to you, like physically in California, or no?
Yeah.
He and I have been talking about getting together, about playing golf, coming out there and seeing him.
You should play. He's a buddy of mine.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah. Okay.
yeah, in the beginning of my career, I connected with him, but it wasn't like by accident. It was, this is the top producer in my industry. Oh crap, he's 20 minutes from me. Let me do everything I can to put myself around the top producer.
Yeah.
Like, and we just remain friends throughout the time period. So Mayakama is a golf course here that's like next level. I'm not
Okay.
quite ready for that membership, but you should see if you can get over there with him. You would enjoy it. It's beautiful.
Is he a member there?
He is, yeah. It's
Okay,
amazing.
yeah. He and I were talking about it. I was even talking to Dave Savage about Dave was going to come up, and
Dave's been over there. I actually
yeah,
hung out with Dave in Germany at Mayakama a long time ago, or a few
yeah.
years.
It's funny. Like I used to have like this competitive thing with Jeremy, and he and I laugh about it, but it was it's comical when you feel like you need to compete with someone and they don't even know that you're alive. Uh, that was me. And I remember being on Mortgage Coach, thinking I was a somebody. And I made the mistake of asking Savage once. So this was like 5 years ago. And I asked Savage, I'm like, I feel like I'm on here like almost every other week. There's got to be like, am I the most recorded person in Mortgage Coach? And he goes, not even close. I said, what do you mean not even close? And he goes, how many Mortgage Coach shows have we done? He pulls it up and it was like 96 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he goes, Jeremy's at like 167. I remember just telling Jeremy, I'm like, there's the goat, and then there's like the baby lamb, and I'm like the baby lamb. So I love Jeremy. I'm a huge fan of his. I love his content. Love that he rocks and he posts on a daily basis. We've been threatening each other about coming up playing golf. So I'll definitely hit you up. I want to make it that way.
Yeah, please do. Let me know. I would love to see that live.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I love Jeremy. Big fan. Absolutely big fan.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to me about, we've got about 5-6 minutes left. What is one thing that you've either appreciated about 24/7 mindset or 6-lane highway or anything about my business that you feel that I can pour into you to help you grow your business?
Like a personal thing that you could do?
How can Wally add value to Ryan to help grow Ryan?
Mm.
Should I have sent you all these questions beforehand so you prepare?
That was the thing. Yeah, Brooke said, "Oh, it's gonna be live," and I was like, "Don't you get a question list?" Put me on the spot. I like it, but see, again, you just gotta roll with it. I'm learning.
Yeah, comical thing.
Just call me every Friday and yell at me.
Okay, that will be an automatic slide aisle voice drop if that's the case. All right.
I don't know, man. At the end of the day, I think you do a lot for the community, and like I was saying before, the blueprint's there, right? And so people can pour into the community and share their successes, their failures, and I think that is a big thing for everybody. Is realizing that even people at the top deal with failure. It's still part of it, inevitably. And I think that would help more people, is just being like, all right, well, Wally just failed. Like, I'm going to go out here and have more courage to fail, or Ryan or whatever else for it. So me personally, no, I think you've provided enough for me, unless you want to try to call me and hold me accountable. But at the end of the day, we've got to be our own accountability people if we really want to be successful.
A great affirmation that I've said to myself since like 2011 is, Wally, your opportunity is your responsibility. Your opportunity is your responsibility. And another one is, Wally, what's the point of dreaming big? What's the point of dreaming big if you're not brave enough to live big? If you're not brave enough to live big, go grab life big. And the last one that I say to myself every morning is, Wally, your questions are piercing, which makes your answers motivating, which makes your presence commanding, which makes your success untouchable. When I've said that to myself, all four of those for the last 12, 13 years, your subconscious is listening. Your DNA of your makeup and how you interact during the day is listening. And I just react during the day, and I'm on autopilot during the day. Like, we just had a screw up earlier today that I'll put on social later. And my assistant was like, how are you not like in tears about it? I'm like, it's just a regular Tuesday. And she's like, it's Wednesday. I said, it's a joke. It's just a regular Tuesday means like it happens every day. Like
Yeah.
you can't come in the office and be like, oh my God, this ended my day today.
Mhm.
And, you know, to me, it was, I was watching that mental strength slip about a year and a half ago. It was March of 2019. And March of 2019, the book had hit Wall Street Journal bestseller. The Academy was doing awesome, 3,100 graduates. The mortgage company that I launched was taking off, and it was all this stuff. But there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of things I had to learn. Well, I started drinking like heavily every single day, and it was like anytime anything would go wrong, I'm like, God, I need a drink. Anything would go right, I'm like, oh, I need to celebrate. I need a drink. And I remember like feeling like this codependency on alcohol. And I had a conversation with a buddy of mine. I said, hey, how long have you gone without alcohol? And he says 100 days. I said, screw you. I'm going to go 101 days. And after I went 101 days, now he's 20 years old. He's a sophomore in college. My oldest son goes, Dad, I bet you can't go a year. I'm like, screw you. I'm going to go a year. And this coming up March with my 2-year anniversary. And what's super cool about that is I think what most people don't understand, Ryan, is if something is not serving you in life, mortgage, friends, your inner circle, whatever the case is, for me, it was alcohol. If something's not serving you well and not empowering you to bring your dreams to life, you got to cut that thing out. And a lot of times people think the way for them to succeed is doing a to-do list of things to make them successful during the day. But a lot of great wisdom teaches you that the way to succeed is doing a not to-do list. What am I going to stop doing instead of what am I going to start doing? So my encouragement to you is go through your day, figure out what are you doing that's not serving you professionally or personally or on the golf course. What are you doing that's not serving you that you just need to stop doing? And when you stop doing it, a lot of people think, you know, they see a hurdle and they see a problem. I see a hurdle and I see 4 solutions. I see a hurdle, I can go over the hurdle, under the hurdle, around the hurdle, or I can just turn around and go a different direction where there is no hurdle instead of keep banging your head against the wall.
That's great. Great stuff, man. That's exactly what I needed to hear. I didn't know how to ask it, but thanks for giving it to me.
I hope that helps, man.
It's so true. If we do have one more minute.
Yeah.
So on the affirmations, are you saying it out loud?
Yeah. I usually say it in the cold plunge when I'm freezing my blank off.
Yeah, I hit the cold plunge this morning for 3 minutes too before.
Yeah. It's the ego part of me is always going to ask, what temperature do you do?
48.
Okay. I'm the same way. So 48.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a buddy of mine. His name is Gavin yesterday. The dude does 36. I'm like, there's crazy and there's like craziest. Like, how do you do 36? Like, that's another buddy when I was like, oh, why don't you jump in the pool? I'm like, I need a controlled area of cold. Yeah. And like my tub inside the house with the cold plunge in it is my controlled area of cold.
Yeah, I'll do it. You know, like I'll jump in the cold water. I'll jump in the glacier stuff. Like I've always been one to do kind of crazy stuff like that. But with the cold plunge, I'm trying to maintain like whatever. Then there's different science, but like whatever is reasonable to get the effect that I want. I don't need to overdo it or prove anything. So that's what I do.
I mean,
I appreciate you saying the drinking thing too, because I'm actually taking 2 months off right now too, because I was the same way, man. Like a lot of stuff in my life, even though my year was good, there was a lot of in the personal life that was like stressful and hard, and that's what I was doing, man. Celebrate, drink, celebrate this, and it just that little knock in your mindset for the next day and how you show up in your business is everything. And I'm glad that we brought a lot of what we were talking about back into the mindset and failures and everything like that. Because no matter what blueprint you have, if you don't really actually ground your mind, none of it's going to be effective.
100%. I mean, I think I am much more patient. I am much more empathetic and sympathetic now that I don't drink than I ever been. And I'm even a much better listener, because I actually have time to digest what I'm hearing. which has allowed me to be very, very successful the last 2-3 years and even before that. So, Ryan, I'm super grateful for you. Super grateful for you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Give me an hour of your life. You've inspired. You've shared your story, and I think the listeners from this will take a lot out of it. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, my friend.
All right, bud. Hopefully we'll tee it up soon. Talk to you, man.
Yeah, you got to come out to my side of the area.
I will. It's in the future. It's in the future.
All right.
All right, brother. Cheers. Talk to you soon.